It's business class, not as you know it. The low-cost airline Jetstar offers a full business class service over the Pacific in brand new Boeing 787 Dreamliners. Who knows what horrors await though? Well, I know. I've seen the preview. First though, there's the early morning departure to get through, which meant a cab at 4 in the morning through the surprisingly busy streets of downtown Honolulu. Amazingly, I got stuck in traffic, which the cab driver commented because I was out at the time when all the bars and clubs were closing, and he said that I was lucky to actually get a taxi. I didn't feel quite so lucky at the $40 taxi fare, and the Hawaiian cab driver refused to take cards, so I was forced to run into the terminal building and find a cash point to get some cash. After those fun and games, I wandered into the terminal, which is outside. Like a few terminals, Barbados and Koh Samui come to mind, Honolulu Airport is mainly outside, and as I found out, still mainly closed off and exposed to the elements. There was a long and winding queue for Jetstar, but thankfully a straight down the line 10th barrier aisle for business class led me straight to the check-in desk. However, other passengers had different ideas, and as I sauntered down this fast track, an American woman with a very loud voice in the queue next to me flung out an arm and yelled it was for first class only, and I didn't look like a first person. Fed up with that nonsense, I told her no, I wasn't in first, but a Jetstar flunky heard the commotion and came over to have the woman pretty much spit at him that I wasn't in first. She grinned as I admitted that I wasn't in first, and Jetstar didn't have a first class cabin, but I was in business class, and he hurried me to the front of the desk. I asked about lounge access, but I was curtly told that was for Business Max customers. When I pointed out that I was, there was a visible step back, and I was given a voucher for the Delta Lounge, as the Qantas Lounge isn't open yet. That's not really any hardship. After all, the Delta Sky Club at Honolulu is either one of the best lounges on the Delta network, or a miserable throwback to the 1990s in a dingy basement without any windows, depending on what you're used to. It had a merciful lack of customers, despite quite a few try-it-ons coming up to the front desk every few minutes. These were basic economy passengers with no status and who haven't learnt yet that a frequent no often offends. As a result, there were plenty of places to sit and staff who seemed delighted to have a customer. Even the fully staffed bar was fully staffed, and they offered me a welcome tropical blue cocktail as soon as I entered, plus an ice cream, even though the sun had only just staggered above the horizon and the bruises in the sky were just turning into another glorious Hawaiian day. 2 beers on draft, Skinny Jeans IPA or Aloha Spirits Blonde, plus half a dozen wines and a very pared-back spirits collection. Food a little bit basic with fruit salad, berry yogurt, rissoles and pancakes. Only one other Jetstar passenger had bought the Business Max bundle with lounge access, and pretty soon we were bundled out to the aircraft, plus all the historical displays of airport memorabilia and mementos of the senator after which the airport is named. Only a short wait at the gate as we wait to escape from Hawaii, and there was a business class queue to board the aircraft, and goodness, people were desperate to get on board. Several commented that they'd paid extra to upgrade to, well, there we have it. It's business class as you might have seen it 30 years ago. Behind it, there's a mini economy class cabin, and then at the back of the bus, there's a 333 layout with a 30-inch pitch in economy. That's really quite tight and an inch or two smaller than normal, and a 17-inch width as well. In economy, there's a 9-inch TV screen, and in the bulkhead seats there's much more legroom and indeed a flip-out IFE screen. However, for most passengers it's not turned on. Remember, in economy you'll be paying to watch films or TV, and paying again for food, drink, a blanket, pillows, headphones, you name it, you are going to pay. Jetstar describe itself as operating in a value-based market, and that means paying for everything extra. No wonder that for just a few $100s more, many passengers are paying for business to get everything for free they'd be paying for in the cheap seats, including a welcome glass of champagne. Plus in business, there's a 10.6-inch screen. Woo, that extra couple of inches makes all the difference. Also, noise-reducing headphones. Now, I remember these hard upright recliners from jetting to and from Australia more than 2 decades ago. Jetstar has that 21-seat business section that translates to a 2-3-2 seating configuration, as opposed to a 1-2-1 layout, which is much more normal in business class today. Still, if you treat business class like premium economy, it's actually not too bad, even if every other passenger in the cabin was trying to elbow me aside on what seemed to be quite reasonable grounds that they were in business. I'm not sure what I expected from flying business class with Jetstar. On the one hand, it's very definitely a low-cost airline with a paid-for menu and everything costs extra, unless, of course, you're in the front cabin. On the other hand, it's also the low-cost offshoot of Qantas, which should mean a quality pedigree. For example, every seat in the front cabin has a pillow and a blanket. These are the same ones that you can buy in the cheap seats, but in business you can take them home.
Patrick and the entire team, welcome on board Jetstar service JQ4 through to Sydney. We're all done up at the front, just waiting on some of the final paperwork to come through. The bags are loaded, and once that paperwork is in, we'll finalise some details. Push back, make our taxi out towards the southern runway for our departure out to the east. Shortly after takeoff, right-hand turn for set course to Sydney, flight time close to 10 hours today. We'll try to do a little bit better on that. En route conditions are forecast pretty smooth. There is the forecast light up within the first hour and onwards. It should be a clear flight. I'll get back to you once we're airborne with some further updated arrival details. In the meantime, please sit back, please.
Indeed, once I was on board, I reckoned that what I hadn't reckoned on Jetstar were the other passengers, which knocked some of the trauma of Jetstar into a cocked hat. I rarely, if ever, mention other passengers in my nearly 30 years of flight reviews, because of course they're going to be different on every flight. But with the horrors of what is to come, I'll return to the passengers later. Now, once a flight kicks off, I find the in-flight entertainment system, and Jetstar make much of it of their Boeing 787. And indeed, there we have it. Low cost, no frills, business class long haul at the front of the 787. All of 10 hours from the US to Australia. So now we're aloft and away, and I was curious as to what more this rather random mix would bring service and food-wise, at least trans-Pacific. I thought I knew as I'd read the very limited information on, of all places, the Jetstar entertainment system. For now, however, the joy of that 10.6-inch touchscreen. It seems like a tiddler now, but a decade back when Qantas ordered these aircraft, it was almost decent sized. But there's a grand total of 14 films and only 66 television episodes loaded in total, which compared to many other airlines in economy isn't really much at all. However, the in-flight entertainment system was broken in many cases and just showed no content at all. Several other people sitting next to me complained. Games do work, they're not really the best selection either, however, and really quite dated. And as for the TV, well, there are just a few random episodes of each TV series loaded. Entertainment itself is updated every couple of months or so. But an upside, 85 hours of audio to choose from. Now in business class on Jetstar, there is an amenity kit, all branded Qantas, which just has basic Napoleon branded moisturizer, earplugs, toothbrush, socks and eye shade. Also, as part of the fare comes comfortable noise-cancelling headphones, which go some way to tempering the chatter of the self-professed nervous flyer sitting next to me, who was determined to engage me in conversation. The crew, however, we're a dedicated crew for the small business class cabin, and service is attentive and efficient. I notice that there is an economy class menu in my seat pocket and ask if any of the items are available, and rather surprisingly I'm told that all of the snacks in there are free in business once a main meal is served. Maybe I'm particularly hungry given the early morning flight, but I find that there's nothing that says budget airline about the excellent business class meals. There's a choice of omelette and sausage, eggs and beans, or bakery. I go for the cheese omelette with chicken sausage, potatoes, roasted tomatoes and parsley. Cup of tea and apple juice. There's a passion fruit muffin. However, what was listed on the menu as warmed sourdough with batik butter turns into a slice of cold baguette that looks like it's a leftover from soup at an RSL club. But the omelette is far better than it looks, and the chicken sausage, a favourite of airlines, is actually edible, which is a distinct rarity. Service was cheery and casually professional, with every single request met. However, the nervous flyer sitting next to me was very unimpressed with the bakery selection she was offered, which turned out to be 2 fruit muffins and a Danish. Now we're going to fly next to Fiji en route to Sydney. However, the windows are dimmed for most of the flight, and the crew won't let us control our own window shades. Oh dear no. I'm about to settle in for a snooze, so have a quick gin and tonic before I kip. Then as I recline my seat and plan to get some sleep, I have a delve into the in-flight entertainment system while we're crossing over the international date line. However, the TV screen fails. The films are there, but when you play them, the screen just goes back to the loading homepage again. I call over the crew, who treat me rather like somebody who's never used a seatback screen before, until I slowly demonstrate the problem and they understand. A reset doesn't help, so they offer me anything I want from the snack menu as compensation, even though it's free anyway. This provokes a second interaction I have with another passenger. I ask, just ask, remember, if beer is included, and the crew responded, of course, it's not a problem at all, and go off to get one, which provokes my nervous seatmate to ask if I plan to use alcohol on this flight, and then she promptly scuttles up to the galley and has a chat with the crew. I overhear them. She insists that she's paid for business class and she can't have anybody interrupting her by eating or drinking next to her seat. The crew come back and with a rather resigned look suggest that as my seatmate wants to sleep, they have an alternative seat for me, and maybe I would be better off in a bulkhead seat in economy. I actually take a look to show willing and curtly refuse, at which point they offer me the crew rest seat in business and the bulkhead seat. Faced with sitting next to a metaphorical pain in the proverbial, or a bulkhead seat with lots of legroom in business, I settle down and finally get some sleep. A few minutes later, the man behind me woke me up to tell me that I couldn't recline my seat as it might stop him getting out of his seat. I put the map on the flip-out monitor and finally got to sleep once more, to be woken up again by a woman from the back who took the seat next to me as she said she needed to work and promptly turned on all the overhead lights and even stowed my monitor. Despite that nonsense, I finally got to sleep again to be woken up the crew halfway through the flight, who were now offering drinks and lunch. It was a furphy. The beers are rather like this flight, and a cold chicken salad with pesto. It's really not at all bad. Lots of flavour, lovely salad. But the woman next to me orders me to wear my mask while eating and chewing. I point out that Australian rules allow you to take off a mask while eating, but she insists American rules do not. Now, the cheesecake's almost tolerable. I'm trying not to damn it with faint praise, but I'm not mad about the wine on board. The offers from the galley were Chardonnay or Shiraz without being able to name the vineyard. At least I make a mean Bloody Mary, which I got micro-sized.
Current indications have us landing on the ground, pending air traffic control obviously at around the stage 2:40 p.m. and we will have you disembarking shortly thereafter. Fortunately, there was an increase in headwinds en route, so we have lost a little bit of time, but still have you disembark in the aircraft on the original planned schedule.
Alcohol is obviously essential to get through this experience, rather like a general anaesthetic is to get through the uncomfortable experience of having your appendix removed. And by this stage, I was quite literally at the end of my figurative tether.
On behalf of the entire team, we do thank you for choosing to fly Jetstar. We trust you've had a pleasant flight. We do look forward to seeing you when you next choose to fly. Thank you and good afternoon.
I was quite figuratively dead on my feet, or at least I would have been if I'd been standing on them rather than sitting on a harsh, narrow recliner. Jetstar may be a budget airline, but their business class manages to deliver food and service on par with more expensive carriers. The only thing missing is a lie-flat seat. Despite everything that's gone on in this flight, and there was quite a lot, I can't escape the feeling that this is low-cost, no-frills business class done right.